Have you ever wanted to achieve the cinematic look of your favorite films, but didn't want to deal with the hassle of actually working with film? If so, then Dehancer is the plugin for you. Dehancer is a powerful film emulation plugin that gives your digital footage the look and feel of film without the time-consuming processing or expensive equipment. In this video, I'm going to cover exactly what is Dehancer, who is it primarily for, some of the benefits and features, and the pros and cons of this plugin. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is Dehancer? Dehancer is a plugin that works with video and photo editing software such as Adobe Premiere, DaVinci, Photoshop, Lightroom, After Effects, and a few more. It allows you to create the look of film on your digital footage by adjusting parameters such as grain, halation, bloom, etc. So who is Dehancer for? So Dehancer really is for anyone who's trying to create that film look on their digital footage. This includes filmmakers, videographers, photographers, really anyone who wants to add that cinematic flair to their work. So what are the features inside of Dehancer? First up, the obvious, film emulation. Dehancer comes with a bunch of different film stock options that you can choose from to emulate that film look. In fact, they have 63 film stocks to choose from, so choose and experiment with ones that you like. In the input menu, you can actually select the camera that you shot on and what sort of log profile you were using. This allows the program to accurately adjust things such as white balance, exposure, highlights, shadows, etc. And I've actually found on my Canon R6 Mark II, it works really well on the C-Log 3 setting, and I think it looks better than the Canon LUT that I use normally. Next, you have the ability to adjust film grain. Film grain is a random physical texture that appears on film when it is being processed, giving it a grainy texture. In Dehancer, you have the option to change the size and the amount of this noise. You can even tell the program how much to add in certain parts of the image, whether it's the shadows, midtones, or highlights, and what kind of noise, whether you want it to be chromatic or not. Next up, we have halation. Halation is the optical effect that allows for a red-orange halo to appear around bright lights in your scene. Dehancer allows you to adjust how much of this halo effect you have around your lights to create that cinematic feel. For this, I like turning on the mask feature so I can actually see what the halation is doing to my image and adjust the parameters from there. Next up, we have bloom. Bloom is the effect that causes bright lights to bleed into the surrounding area. It is very similar to halation, however, it's not necessarily tied to a red-orange hue. It's just any sort of blooming around that part of the image. By adding bloom, we're adding a little bit more of a dreamy look and a softer image overall. And last but not least, a few other features. First up, film breath. Film breath is the subtle flicking of lights that happens when you actually play film through a projector, so it actually feels like you're watching this movie through a projector. You also have gate weave. Gate weave is the subtle movement that happens in the image when it is being pulled through a projector, as if it were shot on film. And lastly, you have false color. False color is a way of visually representing how bright and dark your image is, so you can properly adjust exposure, highlights, shadows, and midtones in post-production. So what are the pros and cons? Let's start with the pros. First up, Dehancer has a ton of profiles that just work straight out of the box. But if you want to dial it in more, you have that option to do so. 2, it is a comprehensive plugin that allows you to change a ton of parameters to really dial in the look that you're going for. Number 3, it saves you a bunch of time and money on not having to actually buy and use film equipment and then having to process that film later. Number 4, once you've created a profile that you like, you can actually export it as a LUT and use it later on future projects, and you don't have to start this whole process all over from scratch. And last, this is pretty affordable, all things considered. 2 seats, which means you can have this program running on 2 computers simultaneously, will cost you around $400 US. And if you wanted this for your photo applications, 2 seats will actually cost you $200. Now let's go into the 2 biggest cons that I see. Number 1, it is very overwhelming as a beginner. You have so many sliders and dials that you can play with, and not all of them have that mask feature that Halation had. So knowing exactly what you're doing to your image becomes a little bit of a guessing game and just slightly changing one feature at a time. I would actually really love to see that mask feature applied to other parts of the image emulation that you can do, such as the noise grain. And second, it is incredibly intensive on your computer. Because this is emulating film, it's a lot of processing on your computer and can really slow down post-production. This is definitely the final step you're gonna do in your project, but even then, I would highly recommend working with proxies. Proxies are low-res preview files that you create so that you can edit the project faster. But even when using these proxies, I find that as I add more effects, it slowly starts bogging down my computer. So this is something to be wary of if you have a very old computer, that this emulation will really wear it down. Or if you have a really high-end computer, you should have no problems, but you still may want to work with proxies to make the process just a little bit faster. Oh, and lastly, it is limited to the few programs that I previously mentioned. You want to make sure you actually use one of those programs before you buy it, otherwise you're wasting your money. My overall thoughts. Dehancer is extremely powerful and versatile if you're trying to create that film look. I find it very useful for creative projects, and I actually prefer the input LUT that it has native in that plugin than the one I use from Canon's website for the R6 Mark II. Although I'm no expert at all the parameters you can change there, I still found the program fairly simple to use and navigate. It is affordable, all things considered, and it works with all the programs that I already use, so it's actually very easy to implement into my workflow. So if you're looking a way to add a little bit of that filmic look to your footage, I would say Dehancer is something worth checking out. In fact, there's a free trial you can get at their website. Just on the homepage, click free trial. If you are a creative and you're already making money doing creative projects like this, and you see yourself actually trying to create that filmic look, then I'd say Dehancer is literally the perfect plugin for you. I don't see myself using this on all commercial projects because I mainly do work in marketing, but for those special moments, it will come in handy. And for my personal projects, I find that I'm gonna use it a lot because I do really love the look and feel of film. If you wanna check out a more detailed tutorial of how I use Dehancer in my workflow, click the video right here. If you have any other thoughts or questions about Dehancer, leave them in the comment section down below and I may follow up with a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.